Hello, good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you all here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this program. And I left my hat somewhere. I'm not sure where. Here it is. Don't want to be blinding anybody at this time of night. Anyways, the show tonight, we will be talking about. Where did I put my list? I don't even know. Well, we don't need that. So basically, I'm going to be talking about 5 bands that I've kind of discovered recently. When I say discovered, that's probably a misnomer. Of course, some of these bands I've known about for years, some of them recent years, but still knew about them. But I mean, actually delved into them, whatever you want to call it. I've bought stuff by the bands and started to listen to them. That's what it's to me. That's when I really get into bands is when I actually have the physical copies of their music and I'm able to follow their stuff and listen to it. I mean, I could do it online, but the problem with doing it online is that I got to actually be sitting there listening to it while I'm doing something, and that doesn't always happen that way very well. And then I don't sometimes go back to it for a long period of time. When you actually have the physical CD in your hand and the booklets, and you can read and listen to the music at the same time, that seems to be the penetrating moment for me. So anyways, I've picked the 5 bands out. Originally, I had only put 4 in there and had it a 4 list, even though I had written it as a 5 list. Not really sure why I went that way, but that's how it happened. So I put them in. They're not in any particular order, although I did put the one at the top is probably the one I've gotten least into of the bunch. And that will be this band, Barkley James Harvest. So I discovered this band maybe 2 or 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago. I did a battle of the bands. And this was one of the albums that Ben gave me, or not this album, but one of the bands that he gave me, and I listened to them. And then gradually I started watching episodes of them on other channels. And then I started buying my own stuff by them. I didn't initially like the first album I bought by them, and then I kind of grew on me a bit. This one I do like. It's the most recent of the 2 that I bought. So I have 2 of their albums. This one, and I think the other one, I think one of these 2 is the debut. This is probably it. This is probably the debut album here. It doesn't give me a indication of what year, but I think this is the debut. Maybe it says so in the booklet. Let's see what it says here, since I haven't really explored this too much. Yeah, as usual, it gives you, June 1970. So yeah, this is the debut. I have another one by them too. This one's quite good. Comes with a nice book too. So with a band like this, it takes a while for me to really take off on them because they're not easily penetratable, but I do like this. Don't really know too much about the band yet. Still fairly new to their discography. I think they got about a dozen albums, maybe, from the early 70s to the early 80s, maybe, something like that. This one says 1969, all tracks 1970 except for 8 and 9, 68, 10 through 12, 91. Oh yeah, so some of these, some of the tracks were actually recorded earlier than the album, before the album was released. That appears to be what's happened here. But it's a good album. I listened to it today and yesterday, and when I got it about a month ago, or however long ago it was I got it. And yeah, so maybe listen to it 3 or 4 times. And the other album, probably the same. Maybe this one a little more. I think the other album I didn't initially like, so I think I only maybe listened to it when I got it, put it on the shelf. And with albums like that, if I don't initially like something, I put it on the shelf, let it sit there for a while, then I'll go back to it. Some albums I go back to fairly regularly, but it doesn't always take off. Sometimes it never takes off. But, if you keep the door open, you never know what's going to happen. But this one is a pretty solid band. Barkley James Harvest. I'm just going to look at the book again. See if I can scourge anything initially. So yeah, originally there was 7 tracks on the album. They added a couple bonus tracks, Early Morning and Mr. Sunshine, which were B-sides from the singles. And then there was 3 other songs from recorded at Advision Studio in London in August of '68, Pools of Blue, I Can't Go On Without You, and Eden Unobtainable. Okay, so those were tracks that weren't originally conceived on the first album, but they had recorded them before, and they're adding them, I guess, to this version. Pools of Blue, recorded in Chapel Studios, London in August of '68. So another earlier track that they've added that was recorded earlier but never appeared on this album. Brother Thrush and Poor Wages, B-side, an A-side and B-side of singles released on Harvest in June of '69, so the year before this album. And then you have Taking Some Time On, the singles version, A-side of a single released as Harvest, August of 1970, Taking Some Time Off. That was the opening track on this album. So, yeah, so it's just some different versions. So the members of the band, for those of you who like to know this stuff, and I'm one of them, Les Holroyd, Mel Pritchard, John Lees, and Stuart Woolley Woolstenholme. There's a picture of them here. This is the band. So 4-piece band. And normal band, I guess. I wonder if it tells you what each of them plays. Just different quirky pictures. They were a British band, so of course they're going to have that quirky stuff going on. There's another shot of them. I wonder where they got the name Barkley James Harvest. Does anybody out there know? I don't know anything about them, really. They're new to me. They did record this album, I believe, at Abbey Road Studios. So at least they have a connection to the Beatles there in some way. Yeah, it does not say what any of them plays, which is kind of weird. Yeah, the other album, I think, had more information. I kind of like this, though. It kind of reminds me of church when I see this. Some of those colorful stained glass windows that they have. Anyways, Barkley James Harvest. This is the first band I'm going to talk about tonight, and I know the least about them, so I wanted to get them out of the way early. The next one up is a band that I've known about for decades, probably going back to almost the beginning of my musical journey back in the real musical journey, which began at the end of 1978. That's pretty much when I started listening to stuff other than Kiss at that time. And they were a band that was in probably the early 80s, maybe 1981 mix in there when I started listening to stuff by them. There was a couple of songs, of course. Nights in White Satin was the big one. But I didn't really like their poppy version of their album, so I thought they were kind of poppy, and I didn't really want to listen to them. But this one, which I listened to for the first time today, I have another one that I've listened to a few times as well. I just decided to bring this one along as my kind of go-to album for tonight to represent the Moody Blues. So this is In Search of Lost Chord It's a picture of the guys on the back. You see them there: John Lodge, Mike Pinter, Justin Hayward. Well, that's the band at this point in time. So there are 12. I believe they're originally released as Dream in July of 68. And then there's the bonus track. So you've got 12 original tracks, and then you have an additional, looks like 9 bonus tracks on this. I listened to this today. It's quite a bit heavier and more psychedelic than I would have thought. Definitely has a lot of prog elements, early on prog elements. We would have probably called them psychedelic elements. And it's got a fair number of different versions of the tracks that are on here as well. This album cover is kind of strange, though. In Search of Lost Child. So you've got this skeleton on one part, a man in the middle, and then a baby, which looks like it's in a womb almost. Kind of a strange album cover. I wonder what they were trying to get at. Again, I don't know much about the band, other than I know they've been around a long time. I did listen to some of their stuff early on and then just kind of dismissed them. Didn't really want to pursue them too much back then. Pretty interesting stuff. Well, this one actually, there's a picture of them all, and then this actually gives you what each member plays. So John Lodge is the bass guitar. He plays the cello, tambourine, snare drum, and acoustic guitar, and does some vocals too. Ray Thomas, he plays the flute, a C flute, alto flute, soprano, saxophone, and vocals. You got Graham Edge on drums, timpani, tambourine, tamblis, and piano. You've got Justin Hayward on 12-string guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, sitar, tablas, piano, mellotron, bass guitar, harpsichord, percussion, and vocals. So the guy's multi-talented for sure. And then Mike Pinter on mellotrons, piano, harpsichord, cello, acoustic guitar, bass guitar, auto harp, and vocals. So this is a multi-talented, multi-instrumental band. A lot of those bands from that time period were like that. Now, I don't think this was their first album. This, I think, was maybe their third. It looks like it was released in 68, but I think they've been around since 64, if I did my reading properly. This is pretty solid. Now, they did do stuff going right up until the turn of the century. I don't know if they did anything much later than maybe 2002 or 2003 in that time period. I don't know if they're all alive or if any of them are alive, really. I assume some of them are. It's a band, like I said, I don't know a lot about them other than this album and the other one I've been listening to. I think I like this one better. My initial feeling about it is I like this one better. It's a little bit more psychedelic. The other one is kind of a little bit on the choppy side. But yeah, so I really started exploring them this year, probably about mid-year when I bought the first one, and then this one recently. And it came about because I was doing some episodes on psychedelic music that I liked, I think it was a monthly series where I was doing episodes on my favorite. It might have been my favorite albums from '69 or my favorite albums from the '60s or something like that I did. And I think these guys came up and there was an album that I had listened to, and probably the one that I have that I quite liked. I do like that other album. Probably like them both pretty equally. But it surprised me that I liked this band so much. I didn't think I would, so I avoided them. And this is the thing why you have to go back and investigate something now, because a lot of this stuff was, for me, started happening when I was still a teenager, and I had very closed mind, and I guess I probably had very small wheelhouse of what I liked. Anything outside of that was difficult for me to listen to. It's funny though, when I was a kid, I used to think I had a wide range of music I liked. And maybe in some ways I did, because I did listen to classical music. I did listen to vocal music. I did listen to the crooners and some 50s stuff and even country western. So I guess I was a little bit more open than I thought I was. But when it came to rock, I was a little bit more selective. So the next band we're going to talk about is very different from the first two. So I would say the first, Barkley James Harvest, I would say they're kind of progressive, but they have some of that 60s sound to them. The Moody Blues, this particular album and the other one, are a little bit more psychedelic than I originally thought they were going to be. And now the third group is this Tangerine Dream, another band I've known about for decades but never really followed them. This band to me is an electronic rock band, basically an instrumental band, so it's kind of understanding why I don't really follow them, although this particular album does have vocals on it. So this is one of, I don't know, maybe they got 50 albums or somewhere between 50 and 100 albums. So there's a lot. And a lot of studio albums. I do kind of like their covers, although I'm not quite sure what's happening here, but it's interesting. And then you've got, this was recorded in 1978. I'm just looking for the list of musicians. My apologies. I think I swallowed my tongue there. Anyways, there's no real information on this, on inside of this. It's just a sleeve. So I don't really know too much about it, but I did listen to this today. Of the three that I have by them, I have 3 albums by these guys. I've listened to all 3 of them. This is the one I think I like the best. I've listened to this maybe 5-6 times now. And so I've wanted to get into them, but they have such a large, huge, massive discography that I don't know that you need to have them all. Maybe you get like half a dozen of them and that's plenty. I don't know. You just pick 5 or 6 that you think are good and you buy them. This one was recommended, so that's why I got it. And they have lots at the record store. Like there's literally a couple of reams of their albums, but I didn't want to get any greatest hits. I don't even know if they have any greatest hits or live albums. I just wanted to get some of their studio albums. So yeah, I'll probably collect half a dozen of them like it's suggested to do and try them out. This one I like quite a bit. It's very electronic sounding, but also progressive. And it's got a bit, and I wouldn't say much, but a bit of that kind of spacey feel to it. I don't really call it spacey feel. There's a lot of, it's more of an electronic feel than a spacey feel, but pretty good. And it's pretty heavier. It's quite a bit heavier than I thought it was going to be as well. So yeah, it's Tangerine Dream. I think they go back to like maybe 1970, 72 in that time period. And they've consistently put out more than 2-3 albums a year, 4 albums a year. It's not too hard to produce electronic albums fairly quickly. And a lot of their stuff seems to, for me, feels repetitious in a lot of ways. But I do like these albums. The Tangerine Dream is one of those bands I like to put on the headphones, and then because it doesn't take me long to go to sleep when I get relaxed easy listening to this stuff, and it puts me to sleep. So it does have its good points, right? Okay, the next band up, the next 2 I like quite a bit. So I probably investigated these 2 more than the other 3 combined. And coincidentally, these are probably my 2 favorite of the 5 bands. We'll start with this one because this is the newest album. Well, I think it's newer than any of the other ones here. Well, maybe not. Maybe the absolutely great. I didn't initially like these guys, And I didn't know anything about them until I started this channel. Maybe, started seeing other people listening to them, but listened to a different album and didn't really take to it too well. But this one I took to almost immediately. It's probably because it's got a huge classical feel to it. Like there's a lot of classical stuff going on here. There's a lot of piano. It's kind of funny that this album, all 5 members of this band were gone within a year or so after this band started. And it's like a totally different band. So maybe that's why I like this. Maybe I liked this originally. So you got 5 people on here that I don't even think were the last one apparently was gone by 72. This album was released in 1970. A couple tracks were from recorded in 1969, but basically the album was released in 1970. There's a picture of the band there. Yeah, it's just funny that nobody was left by the time they got through the second album. And did they actually, any of these guys actually play on the second album? I don't know. See what it says. The following breakup of the Yardbirds in early 1968, drummer Jim McCarty and guitarist vocalist Keith Ralph formed together an acoustic-based group that released a single called Henry's Coming, Love Mom and Dad, and Columbia. This short-lived group then became Renaissaunce in early 1969 with the addition of ex-Nashville Teen keyboardist John Hawkins, bassist Louis Senemo, and vocalist Jane Reef, who is the sister of Keith. This lineup band recorded this self-titled album, debut album, and the single. And then it looks like they broke up. Yeah, I think they broke up. Well, they didn't break up, but people left and they just didn't replace them, and other people came in. So the next group of Renaissaunce, it's funny that the people that came in just kept the name Renaissaunce, even though there was nobody left from the original band. It's kind of a very unusual story, I think. This is good, though. Very good. Lots of a huge classical feel to the album. The songs are really good. Just there's a lot of stuff going on. It's very classical. It's very complex. And I did like some of the tracks on here quite a bit. So it has 5 tracks originally on it. And then a couple of additional tracks added later, The Sea and the Island. The original tracks included Kings and Queens, Innocence Island, Wanderer, and Bullet. So I guess there's 2 different versions of Island here because the one's almost 6 minutes, the other one's about 3.5 minutes. So I'm assuming that's what it's just 2 different videos on the same thing. Anyways, really good band. Started following them. So my entry point, of course, was with the Annie Haslip band, John Kemp. That band. I didn't initially like it right away. It's a deep dive for me. I think it's something I have to kind of work my way into. But this one took off right away, and I think it's because of the classical element to it was really strong for me. I do like the cover quite a bit too. And it was a debut album, so it's nice to get started at the beginning. Sometimes working from the beginning forward really does help me like bands, but I do like this album a lot. It's waiting its turn to go into my playlist. Not every album gets even to that stage. Usually is the 3-stage, the first listen stage. And then after the first listen, I decide if I think if it's good enough to get into the playlist. Or in some cases, I already heard the album before and I want it in the playlist, so I buy it and it goes right in the playlist. And then you got your waiting list to go in the playlist, which is the second stage, and the third stage it gets in the playlist. A couple of albums have gotten on the playlist a few times, mostly because they didn't get really a fair shake and didn't really take off on the first go round. So it takes a bit of time for that. Anyways, that's Renaissaunce. So I have one more band that I wanted to talk about. I have all 4 of their studio albums. I bought it as a box set. Some of you who watch my new albums purchased or my album hauls episodes I do once a month will have remembered this. But I bought the box set, and then the first album I put in the playlist right away, and that's Fruupp, band called Fruupp. This album is called Future Legends. All the artwork is done by the bass player. You can see this is pretty psychedelic artwork almost. Here's a picture of the 4 guys. This is the only one of the 4 albums that opens up like this. So the 4 guys, you've got Martin Foy, drums, percussion. Sorry, going the wrong way here. This is Vincent McCusker. He's the guitarist and does backing vocals as well. Stephen Houston here. He's a keyboardist primarily, also doing some vocals. And then you got Peter Farrelly here. He's the artist that does the work on the cover. He also plays bass and does all the lead vocals. I think he's the only one that's dead, though the other 3 are still alive. So all 4 of their albums are in a box set that I have. The first 3 have all 4 of those guys I just showed you. The last one has a different keyboardist as Houston left the band. So I've been doing a little reading on them, and this is really good. I don't know if all their albums are as good as this. I've listened to their entire collection once, but this album I've listened to several times, maybe a half a dozen times now. This is really good. The drumming is excellent. The percussionist is really good. The guitar player is probably the outstanding guy on the album. His guitar ability is quite good, like much better than I thought it was going to be. And I think he's definitely the main guy here. The vocalist is okay. He's not bad. His bass abilities is good, and the keyboardist is also good. So you've got 2 guys that are good, one guy that's probably excellent, and then the other guy who's just really good, like super good. Overall, the sound is really good on this, better than you would normally get from an album. I think this came out in 72, this particular one. I don't see where it is. 72, yeah, I think it was 72. There are a total of it's like 10 tracks on here. 10 tracks. Part 1, Future Leads, Decision, A Day Break with Dawn. Oh, I see what it is. This is just the lyrical parts for each of the songs. So there's like actually 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like 5 tracks in total here. And they give you the lyrics for them here as well too. Or a little story about each of the songs. So yeah, it's really solid stuff. Like it's actually quite a bit heavier than I originally would have thought. I kind of think of these guys as a bit of a progressive folk band, or progressive rock folk band, or whatever you want to call it. So they've got folk elements in their music. They've got progressive rock elements in their music. There's even a little bluesy parts here and there on the album as well. And a little bit of lots of classical elements to their music as well. They are definitely a band that's well within my wheelhouse of stuff I like. I tend to like all those elements: folky, classical, rock, progressive rock, and a little bit of the bluesy element. And what's the other element? That kind of medieval feel to it as well. So I like all those elements, and they mix it up very well. Got a lot of like really kind of mellow, almost melodic, almost pastoral sounds at times, all the way up to some real hard rock and stuff. Yeah, this is great. I highly recommend anybody who haven't listened to these guys before. Of all the bands that I've just listened to, this would be my favorite of the 5 at this point in time, and I would recommend these guys before the other 4, even though I do like them all. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about them tonight. But this is the beginning. I've got 3 more. I'm looking forward to exploring this discography and really getting to know these people. And this band kind of reminds me of Green Slade, not the music. The music's different, but in that they both had 4 albums. They both, I've got all 4 of their albums, and I'm listening. In the case of Green Slade, though, they did come back and do a few more albums. These guys have not come back and done anything, which is too bad because these guys are exceptionally good. Anyways, that's my 5 bands that 5 progressive rock bands that I've recently discovered over the course of this year and have stuff that I like. I didn't choose any of the newer bands that came out in the last since this century started, mostly because I wanted to stick to some original stuff from the 70s, and all these bands I believe played in the 70s, all of them, or 60s and 70s. So I'm going to give them to you back again. So Barkley James Harvest, one of 2 albums I own by them now. The Moody Blues. This is In Search of Gold. Lost Chord, sorry. In Search of the Lost Chord. Or the Lost Chord. That's funny. Why does it say that? Oh, because the baby's in the womb. There you go. So they have, I have 2 of their albums now. Tangerine Dream. This is Cyclone. I believe this is their 8th studio album. I now have 3 of their albums. This is the first one I have with actual vocals on it. Renaissaunce is their debut album. It's also the only one I have. Not as easy to find, I find. So when I saw this one, I grabbed it right away. I will probably end up with all of their discography. I can see myself really growing into this band. And then the last one is Fruupp. I believe they're a German band. I think they're German. Anybody knows, let me know. I'm pretty sure they're German. So there are 4 albums in their discography. I have all 4. There is some live releases that they've done lately, like over the last few years. I don't have those. I probably would go and get it. I'm curious to see what they sound like now. But anyways, I do like all 4 of their albums. Nice covers to them. Are all painted. And lots of different sounds to them. So that would be my favorite. And those are the 5 bands I talked about tonight. So I hope you will enjoy this episode. If you get a chance to watch it, please let me know if you like any of these bands, or any suggestions about any of these bands, or any information you want to add to any of these bands. You can do that all in the comment section below. And also, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. That really helps the channel grow, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to grow the channel. So I hope to see you all next Sunday night for another episode of Into the Progverse. So take care, have yourself a good night, and goodbye here from the Prog Man, from the Prog Monster. Take care, goodbye.